is up, my lovelies? It's me, Julian Greystoke! I know. Thrilling. Today I'm wearing Superman. Not actually that big of a fan of Superman, I just like red on black. We are here to do a tag of sorts today. This tag was created by someone whose name I'm probably going to mispronounce. Ada Jacobs? Am I saying that right? I will link to her channel in the doobly-doo. Go check her out. She writes fantasy and she's really passionate and excited about her books and her characters. So if you want somebody who's like super excited about writing, go check out her channel. She created this video where it's pretty simple. We're here to highlight the times when our characters were less than badass. Times when they failed pretty hard. Okay kids, our first derp is brought to you courtesy of Princess Joanna from my current work in progress, Boots. Joanna is a pretty badass warrior chick. She kicks a lot of ass, let's just say that. But she doesn't always succeed or look as awesome as she would like to, such as in this case. She and her unit of soldiers are caught by surprise by a group of shadows. Shadows being the enemies that the ogre sends her way. Let's see how Joanna fares. Form up! Joanna's order was cut short as another shadow smashed into her. She was driven to the side by the surprising force of its wispy body. Though it seemed insubstantial as smoke, she knew better. Her right foot went through her stirrup as her left pulled free and she found herself hanging upside down from the side of her horse. Willow, that's the horse, spooked, not at all pleased to have a shadow scrambling around on his back. As the dark creature clung to Joanna and clawed for her face, Willow bucked powerfully. The wrenching motion of the horse slammed Joanna's shoulders and head into the path of the cracking force. She yelped in pain and was stunned for a long second, unable to breathe, lights crashing through her vision. She felt the shadow claw at her, heard armor scrape and screech as its sharp hands raked her chest. She had just enough time to appreciate the dire situation before Willow balked to the side, dragging her along, hanging by her right leg from his stirrup. "Lie!" she choked as her head smacked against a stone and she narrowly managed to dodge one of Willow's flailing hooves. She had no sense of where her friend was, or the rest of her men for that matter. She could only hope they were having a better time than she was. Focusing on the moment with all of her being, she managed to roll awkwardly as Lyle's horse, Sky, nearly struck her with his hoof. Willow jerked her again and her ankle and knee screamed with pain. She clamped her teeth down hard, glad that in the chaos of spooking and fighting horses, the shadow had been dislodged from her chest, though she couldn't have told anyone when. She tried to curl towards her snagged foot to free herself, but her armor would not let her bend. She cursed between her clenched teeth as she sagged back, praying the horse didn't move again. Her head couldn't take much more punishment, and her shoulder armor was stabbing her in the neck. Willow wheeled abruptly, taking her with him in a wide circle, like he was using her to sweep the path. She was slammed bodily into someone else, and the armored figure of one of her men fell on top of her with a loud clattering of metal on metal. She didn't have time to be glad that his sword had not stuck her as she tried to keep her head up off the path and away from jagged stones. "Willow! Whoa!" she yelled, the first words she had managed since she had fallen. The horse swung his head around, nostrils wide, the whites of his eyes shining. He didn't understand what she was doing down there, but her order was clear enough. Joanna shoved the man who had fallen on top of her. She didn't have time to wonder if he was wounded or worse, but grabbed his sword from his hand and swung it clumsily at the leather strap of the stirrup which held her. Her own swords were trapped in the special sheaths on Willow's saddle. It took 3 tries, but she finally hacked herself loose. "Go!" she shouted to her mount. Willow surged away from her, doing as he'd been trained. Joanna flopped back, allowing herself 3 good breaths before she acted again. So there you go, there's Joanna. She's the hero we deserve. She fell off her horse and hung there upside down for a substantial amount of time. This next one is from my fanfiction, The New Ways of Old Gods. There's a little bit of a spoiler here about relationships, so if you don't want any spoilers at all, stop here and come back. I'll even put up a little spoiler warning. But if you want to enjoy this derp, you must know that Aslier, my main character, is a Kunari with horns, She's a very tall lady with horns, essentially, and she is in love with Cullen, an awesome warrior dude. When we find her about to do something very derpy, she and her team are camping in a desert in small, individual tents. She and Cullen have been in a relationship for a little while, by the way. Aslier watched to be certain that Maivenwee was not looking in her direction as she shed her cloak and warm garb for sleep. Instead of heading to her own tent, she resolved to try and cram herself into Cullen's. It was more cramped than she expected, but he was pleased to see her, even as they had to do some serious body rearranging to make certain she didn't crush the poor man. He chuckled at her worries. Aslier, you're bigger than me, but not so much bigger that you'd squish me like an ant. All the same, it took quite some time to arrange themselves and get down to business. They had just figured out how they wanted to manage things when Maivenwee's alarm shouts startled them. Astlier's head shot up and her horns punctured through the roof of the tent. She was caught, and Cullen, thinking quickly indeed for a man in a state of semi-undress, managed to free her, but they were a jumble of flailing limbs and swearing all rolled up in leather as they attempted to struggle free. Outside, more shouting had begun. The rest of the camp was awake, she knew, and already fighting. She felt the air prickle with magic, though she couldn't tell if it was from her team or the enemy. By the sounds she heard, she knew this was no wild dog attack. Finally free, she and Cullen made a mad scramble for their weapons. Okay, there you go. That's basically all you need to know. Aslier attempting to have sex when an ambush happened, and she puts her horns through the tent and gets caught. She's a classy lady, what can I say? No, but seriously, that is so Aslier. She is a dear and I love her, but she's big and her horns, and it's a mess sometimes. Okay, one more derp to go, and I chose that one from my self-published book, Phoenix. It is a zombie book. It is really kind of a novella, and it's a very fast and action-packed book, so there isn't a lot of opportunity for derping, as it were. But at this point, Deidre does derp a little bit, so I thought I would share that with you. She and several of the other survivors are out at a gas station trying to get supplies, bottles of water, stuff like that, and they've been caught out by an angry person with a gun, and they're trying to get away. "Get out!" roared the man, waving his gun barrel towards Spook. Deidre followed instruction. So did her companions. DS even stepped over the body of the farm boy, whose blood was already pooling out of him. DS didn't stop, or even glance down. They didn't seem to be leaving fast enough, and another thundering bang bombarded Deidre's ears. She heard DS grunt and stumble, but kept running. Chief hurried to them, his fur raised and tail tucked, sending uneasy glances back towards the building. Deidre grabbed hold of the big dog's collar and let him pull her away. Her limbs felt numb, her mind too for that matter. The bottles of water she had stuffed into her overlarge boots fell with plastic thunks, rolling lazily as she left them far behind. The book bag slapped heavily against her side and threatened to topple her. When she had loaded it, she hadn't thought about needing to run. She didn't dare take it off again. So there you go, that's kind of the closest we get to a derp in Phoenix, because like I said, it is super action-packed, but Deidre should have clearly thought better about how she packed her supplies on her person, and definitely sticking bottles of water into her boots might not have been the smartest idea. And Kinchu is here! I'm a Kinchu! I'm Kinchu! I'm gonna get you, I'm a Kinchu. So that was it for the character derp tag. Don't forget to check out the original. As I said, links in the doobly-doo. I do new videos here Mondays and Fridays. Kinchu often joins me. Kinchu, do you have to put your claws in my leg right now? Right now? Okay. Remember that you can check out all of my social media, links in the doobly-doo. Like, subscribe, all of that good jazz, and I will see you again next time with whatever it is we happen to be doing next time. Bye! I'm gonna be killed by this cat. It's not gonna be good.